money laundering, drug trafficking, and terrorist financing risks when a global bank uses its U.S. affiliate to provide U.S. dollars and access to the U.S. financial system to a network of high-risk affiliates.
Senator Levin has been on the Permanent Subcommittee on Investigations for about 15 years, and he's looked at money laundering, conduct, and misconduct by financial institutions on a number of occasions during that time period. When we looked at HSBC, we found a lot of shocking information. This global bank was allowing a lot of dirty money to run through the United States.
The banking giant is under investigation by the U.S. Senate, accused of turning a blind eye to billions of dollars in money transfers.
The investigation focused on HSBC having lax control of dealings between 2006 and 2009.
And internal documents show HSBC executives knew exactly what they were doing. We are allowing organized criminals to launder their money.
The Sinaloa Cartel, one of these organizations that is identified in the Senate report as having benefited from this money laundering, is unquestionably responsible for tens of thousands of deaths in Mexico.
The murders, the beheadings, the shootings, the kidnappings, the extortion, all of that has to do with the money. And having the bank participate with that, they've become part of this terrorist organization.
You swear the testimony you will give before this subcommittee will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Some of the witnesses included Stuart Levy.
My name's Stuart Levy. I'm the Chief Legal Officer of HSBC.
Who had been a Treasury official in the United States. We had Irene Dorner.
Thank you, Chairman Levin and Senator Coburn. My name is Irene Dorner, and I serve as President and CEO of HSBC Bank USA and HSBC North America Holdings, Inc.
At our hearing, HSBC did not deny the facts. Instead, what they said is, we're trying to do better.
HSBC's compliance history, as examined today, is unacceptable. HSBC has learned some very hard lessons from the experience of the past few years, but we have taken very substantial steps to address the problems that we, our regulators, and this subcommittee have identified.
The problem is they've been saying that for many years, and the problems are not resolved.
You're dealing in drug money here. You're not supposed to do that. That's against the law. HSBC more than once gets caught and says, oh, you're right, we'll be more careful in the future.
You agree, given past commitments that have not been kept, that the bank has a heavy burden of proof, both as to changing behavior and as to changing the culture.
It is quite clear that we have had failures in the past, which we deeply regret, and I would agree that we have some way to go to regain the trust of our regulators and of yourselves on this subcommittee.
We welcome the commitments, we welcome the apologies, but there's that nagging question of accountability, which others are going to have to judge.
The primary role of a U.S. attorney really is as a prosecutor. You are prosecuting drug crimes, gun crimes, that could be white-collar crimes, all of the federal crimes that Congress has created. And so the Barton Adams case, it just grew in scope very quickly, and from 2008 until 2010, our investigators worked on it and put in thousands of hours.
Anytime a prosecutor wants to take on a bank over money laundering issues, it has to go through the Justice Department, what's known as the Asset Forfeiture and Money Laundering section of Justice. This prosecutor in West Virginia, according to these documents, was prepared to indict the bank. That would have been a huge step to take. It would have been unprecedented.
In early September of 2010, I was told that I needed to go to Washington, D.C. to meet with Lanny Brewer, who was the Assistant Attorney General in charge of the Criminal Division of the Department of Justice, and also Loretta Lynch, who at the time was the United States Attorney for the Eastern District of New York. At the conclusion of the meeting, I received a call a few days later from Assistant Attorney General Brewer asking me to stand down. And I told him I couldn't agree to do that. We had worked too long. We had developed some really important information. I mean, this was a case against one of the world's largest banks. And we just wanted to make sure that if there was an individual who should be held accountable, he or she was held accountable. And that if the bank should be held accountable through a guilty plea, which might cause the charter to be pulled in the United States, that we should see it all the way through. But he asked me to step aside. He said that we could still continue to investigate Dr. Adams and his wife, but that we should stand down from looking at HSBC.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, and thank you for coming.
I remember exactly that day. I was home in Jersey City, and I had a lot of friends who work in Wall Street. We had been kind of waiting for the settlement to come down, and most of us expected that it would be pretty rough.
We are here today to announce the filing of criminal charges against HSBC Bank, both its U.S. entity, HSBC U.S., and the parent HSBC Group, for its sustained and systemic failure to